Let me introduce to you our third speaker from Lee Valley Regional Park Authority, Mr. Shaun Dawson. He'll be talking about the various white water centers, velodrome, and tennis hockey centers, the three centers that they operate. So, Mr. Dawson, please, over to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It really is a pleasure and honour to be here this afternoon at what is the conclusion of what has been a very effective week of engagement. And thanks to the Sasakawa Sports Foundation, we have had meetings with Japan Sports Council, TMG, TOCOG, and it's just been a great opportunity to transfer knowledge from Sydney and London, and it's just great to finish the week here today at this symposium. I've been involved in the London 2012 project from the bid, right the way through the Games, right the way through to now legacy operating venues. So it's hopefully a unique perspective on the Olympic 2012 project. And what I'd like to do is just share with you the legacy planning we went through for three venues, our three 2012 venues, and the approach we took and how now, 3 years after the Games, they are operating and we think being successful. And at the end, I'd just like to perhaps summarise some of the general lessons from London, from the 2012 Games, and share those with you as well. So before the bid stage, back in 2003, my organisation, Lee Valley Regional Park Authority, had a vision to create a zone of sporting excellence in the Lee Valley. So we had plans for a velo park, for a white water centre where you can host canoe slalom and other activities, and also a hockey and tennis centre. So that was before the Olympic bid. So our vision came together with the Olympic bid opportunity. And the Olympic opportunity to inspire a generation, to increase participation in sport, and to regenerate a significant area in East London. So that was a very fortunate convergence coming together of those two visions. So here we can see the zone of sporting excellence, so our vision back in 2003. So this is a 4,000 hectare Lee Valley Regional Park, 40 kilometres long, Olympic Park here. So we already had an ice centre, equestrian centre, athletic centre, so we wanted to add velo park, white water centre, hockey and tennis centre to complete this zone of sporting excellence in the Lee Valley. And we have a range of other sports facilities as well for other activities, but these would be the main regional and national facilities in the Lee Valley. So we had a unique role by virtue of our vision, our geography. This presented a unique opportunity for my organisation. So we were a key partner in the bid. We had plans. We would be therefore running three venues in Legacy: Velo Park, Hockey and Tennis Centre, and Whitewater Centre. So we had that interest, that legacy interest. We were the legacy client for three venues from the very beginning. And what that meant was that my organisation benefited from the investment that came from the Olympic project. So those three venues are much bigger than they would have been, much better than they would have been without the Olympics. They would have been more modest venues. But the Olympic project benefited from having a very clear legacy vision and a legacy plan for those three venues from the very beginning. So if at all possible, having a legacy client there at the very beginning that has the long-term accountability is very, very important. So we had that interest in getting the venues designed absolutely right, having very clear business plans and very clear design proposals. These are our two venues in the Olympic Park, the Hockey and Tennis Centre and the Velo Park, and you can see the rest of the Olympic Park here. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the Velo Park, but before I do, there are certain principles that apply to all our three venues, a philosophy that we brought to the design and the business planning. They were to be community-focused, very much about the community, every day, every week of the year, schools, clubs, families, elite, but also commercially focused. They had to have a very strong commercial emphasis as well. And it's the commercial emphasis which allows us to run a community program and ensure that they are inclusive venues for all. So here we have the 4 disciplines, cycling disciplines from the Olympic Games: road, BMX, track, and mountain biking. I'm going to show you a very short clip now. Gives you a sense of the atmosphere you can look forward to in 2020 when one of your own athletes wins a gold medal, and I'm sure many will in 2020. The atmosphere, and this is Chris Hoy winning his final gold medal to become our greatest Olympian.
Hoy hits the line with 1 lap to go, and the challenge is coming here from Levium, Germany. They're shoulder to shoulder now as they come off the crown of the bend, and now they're lining up for the run to the line. Who's going to get it? Chris Hoy gets the gold medal here in the Keirin. That's his 6th gold medal. He becomes the greatest achiever ever, the greatest British Olympian. He's tallied 6 golds and 1 silver. Sir Chris Hoy is the Olympic champion for the Keirin.
I've watched that video hundreds, thousands of times, and I still get that feeling every time. So that's what you can look forward to. But let's talk legacy. So the Velo Park opened only last year, 2014. Lots of work had to be done after the Games to configure the road network around Olympic Park. So 2 years until we could open to the public. And we have 4 disciplines. We have the BMX, whoops, wrong one. BMX, road, track, and mountain biking all together at the one venue. Now, we need to cater for a number of audiences, so when we designed the venue, we needed to make sure we could host major events in the future. So we've had a Track World Cup in 2014. We have the World Championships next March, big event before Rio. We have major charity events. And only recently, a month ago, one of our great all-time cyclists, Sir Bradley Wiggins, was attempting to break the world record for 1 hour cycling around the velodrome. So you watch him cycle 221 times. Exciting. 6,000 tickets were sold out in 7 minutes. Very popular. Cycling very popular in the UK. Iconic sporting figures like Sir Bradley Wiggins attract a lot of attention, very popular. And we have other sporting events as well in the velodrome. So we have our national indoor rowing championships here last year. But day in, day out, it is about the community program. That's where our emphasis is in terms of the program. Most of the time is dedicated to community programs. It is about young people learning to cycle, having the experience across 4 different cycling disciplines. Family cycling, school groups, so at the heart of what we do is the community program. And because of the strong commercial emphasis, which I'm going to come on to, we can afford to run a whole host of programs, including a schools festival, which we run every year at our 3 venues, which means that every borough in London, every municipality sends a school group for a free day of cycling or whitewater rafting or hockey and tennis. And we can only do that because we have a very strong commercial emphasis, which I'll take you through now. So we did very early on, after we opened the venue, we opened a retail outlet, cycling outlet, and they are also a sponsor of the Velo Park, Cycle Surgery. We have events, non-sporting events, in the central area. We've had Microsoft, Imtech, a whole host of companies. It's a very different venue. It's unique, and companies like to come here and have exhibitions. Commercial cycling events, sponsorship, which we need to grow. We've got some sponsorship, but we need to grow our sponsorship. And companies like to come and bring their staff or their clients to have a day of cycling on the track and doing other activities. They're very, very popular with companies. 25% of our income comes from companies hiring the Velo Park. And we can continue the cycling program on the track whilst we're hosting exhibitions in the centre. So moving on to the Hockey and Tennis Centre. So the games were fantastic. The Paralympic tennis was a great event. And this is the only permanent tennis facility, Paralympic facility in the Olympic Park. So it has a special place within the sporting legacy. And we were successful with the hockey. We see our women here winning the bronze medal, successful hockey. So again, that was really, really important as a springboard for our legacy going forward. So we opened the Hockey and Tennis Centre last June. And again, the event program is very, very important going forward. And we have a whole host of events that have taken place, that are taking place. The European Hockey Championships next month. We've got the Women's World Cup in 2018, and every year we've got various international events taking place, including Great Britain versus Japan. And unlike the football, we won 2-1 in this game. And what's really, really important here is through events, we continue to raise the profile of disabled sport. Not just once every 4 years, there's a focus on disability sport. We need to continue to inspire a generation of disabled athletes. And the Masters, International Masters Tournament, where the top 8 players, men and women, compete every year for the next 3 years will take place at this venue. And this was last November. Community program, schools, at the heart of what we do every day, bringing school groups, community groups, for tennis and hockey. So let's move on to the Whitewater Centre, a more established venue. We opened in 2011, a year before the Games. So this was the only venue that was open to the public, new Olympic venue open to the public before the Olympic Games. So here it is complete. So set within a parkland. It's a 1,000-acre park. It sits within that park. So there are lots of opportunities outside of the venue, cycling, walking, other activities which link to the venue. When we designed the venue, we were very, very clear, as we were with the other venues, what the legacy plan was going to be. We looked across many venues, Sydney, Barcelona, and we learnt a lot from Sydney. Sydney, very successful whitewater venue, but it only has the Olympic course. It doesn't have this second course here. And the one message from Sydney was, you must include a second course. They regret not having that second course. So Olympic elite athletes can train, companies take part. If you're over 15 years of age, you can go on the Olympic course. But from the age of 10, you go on the legacy course. So you can learn, experience whitewater before you move to Olympic course. And it also gives flexibility for programming. So we can have maybe elite training here, but public using legacy course. And also the flat water, 1.5 hectares of flat water, which again, opportunity for other activities as well. So world-class venue, the best in the world of its kind. Guaranteed clean water, which is really important for whitewater activity, because you swallow a lot of water, believe me. And we opened a year before the Games, which was great. A real opportunity to test the venue and get the public engaged in the venue. The corporate market was always a very important market for us. We did our market research. We looked at other venues. We were very, very clear that we could generate a lot of income through the corporate market, through parties, a whole range of different activities which could generate significant income. So we designed in seminar room, a nice terrace, looking over the course, and over 30% of our income comes from the corporate market. Very popular for staff, for clients, an afternoon of rafting, but also perhaps using the seminar room as part of the day as well. After the Games, and we opened while the Paralympic Games were still on. So in terms of, LOCOG did a great job. After the Games, they removed all the overlay very quickly, so we could open very quickly after the Games. We had to invest more money. The venue was so successful in its first year, we had to invest in creating a performance centre for GB canoeing, more catering facilities, more car parking. We had to extend the changing rooms. It was so popular and successful. Major events, again, very important feature of this venue. So we had a World Cup event last year. We have the World Championships later this year, September. The flexibility of the venue is very important. We have the emergency services training nearly every day. And that's on the legacy course, the shorter course. So again, we can continue our program on the main course whilst other activities such as emergency service training takes place. So various canoeing disciplines, the rafting, that's our bread and butter, that's our main commercial activity. But also triathlon training in the lake as well. So again, it's a flexible venue, very important for programming. So in terms of our long-term challenges, it's meeting customer demand across all our 3 venues. They're all very popular, as we planned them to be. If they weren't, we'd have made a big mistake, only ourselves to blame. So we planned them to be popular, and they are. It is that balance between community and commercial. There's always that tension. You want to make sure they're open as much to the public as possible, but there is that pressure to generate income, to reduce the burden on the taxpayer, and make them more successful and viable. So it's about maximising that commercial potential and managing a variety of stakeholders, NGBs, general public, politicians. There's a lot of managing of stakeholders one has to do. Very, very quickly, lessons from London 2012, just ticketing. Ticketing is difficult. When sport's so popular in your country, you can't keep everybody happy. And we had a lottery system, which made it everyone had the same opportunity to bid for tickets. But what it meant was that some people got a lot of tickets, some people got no tickets, or very few tickets. And it is a real challenge. Game security, within a few months before the games, the armed services were brought in, did a fantastic job, but it shows how challenging game security is. So the private company didn't have the capacity, but the armed services came in and filled the gap and did a brilliant job. Venue design process in legacy, and I'll just give you one example, perhaps the major example, and something that's very close to your hearts here with your stadium project. With London, there wasn't a clear legacy, or the questions were still there, they weren't fully answered. The original legacy plan for London was to go from 80,000 to 20,000 seats, athletics legacy. But then London changed its position and has had to spend money after the games, 272 million, to make sure the venue now can accommodate soccer and athletics. So you've got retractable seating, roofing. Oops. So for soccer from 2016, Rugby World Cup from September. Fantastic stadium, and it will be a fantastic stadium, but we didn't plan, unlike Sydney, we didn't plan clearly from the beginning. It just took us longer to get to where we need to get to. So Sydney is the example of getting things right, very clear, track comes out, very clear vision, very clear legacy plan. So what London did well, it planned very well, it delivered very well. And in terms of its overall legacy handover and master planning, very, very effective. And we're seeing that today with the venues, with the housing, with the job creation, skills development. Overall, London's legacy planning was first class. A key question for host cities, and I touched on this earlier on, who makes the decisions which impact on long-term legacy? So who in Tokyo is going to make that decision? Second question, who is accountable for delivering that legacy? If it's the same organisation, that's good. They have ownership from the beginning for the next 20, 30 years. If it's a different organisation, that's a big challenge. Because some organisations won't be here after 2020, some organisations will be here after 2020. And that's a crucial early issue that you've got to reconcile within your legacy planning. I'm going to leave you now with a video which shows you legacy at our 3 venues and what it means today, 3 years after the Games. Sound? Sound? Yeah, sound. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Dawson 様、ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much, Mr. Dawson.